we interrupt your regularly scheduled brainwashing in order to bring you news. Breaking news. A special segment of the almost daily Zcast, focused on curious, quirky, and quixotic news items that you may have missed during the last 48-hour news cycle. Hosted by me, the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo.
Here we are at the very end of the 4th of Trumptopia, and I thought, let me turn on a show that may or may not be political, that may or may not be already done with its political content, and might just be like rocking a rock and roll jam right now, or doing a little sketch comedy.
Weekend.
Let me put on the Stephen Colbert Show. And mind you, I haven't popped on the Stephen Colbert Show in a while, so I didn't know what to expect, and it rocked my socks enough to pause, rewind, and play it for you now.
Don Jr., as I was saying before, Don Jr. has struck a deal to testify before the Senate Intel Committee. Why would they strike a deal with him? He said no. They subpoenaed him. If he says no the next time, they can grab him by the short hairs and just drag him in front of the committee, per force. Why strike a deal?
I mean, I think part of it is all the Republicans in the Senate, aside from the chairman of the committee, Richard Burr, decided to attack Burr for threatening to issue a subpoena to Donald Trump Jr. in the first place.
Why do you think Burr did it? I mean, this seems like a bit of a stretch for any Republican to go against Trump in this way.
Well, I think it was so obvious. I mean, the Mueller report comes out, and when you look at the Mueller report, clearly what we know from the Mueller report about Don Jr. Does not track with the testimony he gave last time he was in front of Congress.
Stephen, there's a chance, and I don't want you to get upset, but Donald Trump Jr. may not have told the truth to that committee.
Not on the level.
And the thing about it
Is Donald Trump Jr. a liar? Is that what's on TV? Is this the raging mad anti-Trump left-wing rabid bias? Or is it just the truth?
So sorry.
I mean, is it funny because it's true? I think it's funny because it's true.
I'm just glad you're sitting down.
I thought he was the good one.
No one's ever said that before about the Trump kids. But there's a reason Republicans in Washington got so angry at Senator Burr for showing just the slightest modicum of country first, bipartisan, let's stand up for this institution. A lot of what's happening right now is this dirty deal, right? They make it.
Brace yourselves. This is a mind-blowing thing to say on the 4th of July on television on the Colbert Show, I think. What he just is about to say is epic.
They get Trump. Trump sucks. They know it. But you know what? They get their tax cuts and they get their judges. Well, nothing makes a dirty cop more nervous than a cop who decides not to take the bribe. These are a bunch of dirty cops who made a dirty deal. And when somebody goes against that deal and acts even with the slightest bit of moral virtue, it makes them furious. Because what does that make us? You calling us dirty cops? Well, yeah, that's what he's calling them, because he did the one thing that every Republican said you can't do, which is actually respect the fact that these people may not be telling the truth, and there may be something to this story, which anyone who's not paid by Fox News or worried about a primary or worried about being yelled at by Donald Trump knows to be true. It is obvious. And Republicans have spent the last 6 months pretending what's obvious isn't real, and the second somebody points that out, it makes them pissed.
Prove him wrong. Fight him. Prove him wrong. I agree with what he just said. And it's comical to me because it's funny because it's true. And I've been saying that since Donald Trump announced and rolled down his Pretendo's, golden escalator. Talking about how, in front of paid extras, how he alone could fix it.
Okay, let's talk about something that switched over to the Democrats. You guys produced the documentary "Running with Beto." What happened to him?
Look,
Because he relaunched recently, which is always like, you know.
I'm
sorry you had to relaunch.
You never want to launch twice.
You never want to launch twice, exactly. So, what do you think is going on with him? Where's the magic?
look,
He's very compelling. I've interviewed him before.
Yeah, the best AAA baseball player is going to struggle in the majors, right? I mean, a Senate race is not the same as a presidential campaign, and he's learning that the hard way. And I think that it takes some reps, and you're going to get out there, and you're going to make a bunch of mistakes. I don't know if he's going to win, lose, do well. I don't think the campaign has been run particularly well to date, but they're improving things. They're hiring staff, so he's got time.
Yeah, I mean, look, one of the things he has to do is a lot more media appearances because, for example, his name is Beto.
Yeah, sure.
And people don't know how to pronounce that because he's not on television enough.
Is he coming on? He's coming on. He's going to come back on here.
There you go.
Lovely.
I mean, Obama was down 20 to Hillary around now. You know, that's the context that we all have to remember.
So Beto is Obama. Got it.
I would say like
Got the message.
Put that-
Got the
put that-
message. Yes.
like right now, Democrats are taking.
Okay. So I've got a lot to say about Beto O'Rourke, and how you pronounce his name and how you don't pronounce his name and how it's been mispronounced. Because I'm a Mexican, like I was born there in Mexico, and I also look whiter than Beto O'Rourke does, and he's an Irish guy, like he looks really Irish, right? So that's a whole nother episode, but I'm not going to go off on that right now because you have to hear what this guy says next. It's the whole reason I stopped and decided to capture this as part of the podcast. Listen to what he says next. It's the most mind-blowingly cool, funny, hilarious, funny because it's true, and it should also make you stop and go, oh God, that's terrifying, analogies about our political culture.
Little white cups and going up to various.
Text that we
Is, for example, his name is Beto.
Oh, I rewound it to
And
get it
people
right.
don't know
and
how
then I
to
went too
pronounce
far.
that because he's not on television enough.
Is he coming on? He's coming on. He's going to come back on here.
There you go.
Lovely.
Here we go.
Obama was
Listen
down
to this.
20 to Hillary around now.
Oh, not this.
You know,
The
that's
next
the
bit.
context that we all have to remember.
So Beto is Obama. Got it.
Beto is
I would say
Obama.
like
Got the message.
Put
Got
that-
the message. Yes.
Like right now, Democrats are taking little white cups and going up to various frozen yogurt things and trying them. You know, and they're tasting. They're like, gay mayor. Interesting. You know, they're trying different flavors.
I've had that flavor.
And the thing about it is, they stuffed their faces with
Uh-huh.
Texas congressmen
Sure.
like 4 months ago.
Right,
And
right,
now
right,
they
right.
can't really tell is like, do I love it or am I sick of it? And they don't know. And then there's a big tub of Biden vanilla somewhere, and they're like, we'll just grab that thing and go home. You know? So who knows? Who knows how it shakes out?
Yeah.
He's been fine-tuning that one.
Now, what is the little white cup represent?
Nobody knows, and I don't know what the.
What are the topics?
It's
I
not
listen to your
clear.
damn podcast. Elizabeth Warren turned down Fox News town hall. Good to see.
Brilliant analogy. Our political clusterfuck of crazy is a frozen yogurt cornucopia, and we're all just sort of sampling the bits and deciding which of the totally meaninglessly labeled different sugar flavors we like the most.
Or not.
Great decision.
While one of them refuses to be on Fox News, which is cool, I guess. Except, how is that free and fair and balanced, right? It's not, right? Not that I'm criticizing Fox News. I'm like, boycotting the news while you boycott someone who calls the news the enemy of the people doesn't really, I don't know how that computes. Although Fox is not the enemy of the people, but one of the more patently and obvious corrupt news organizations, if there is such a thing, to be levied at news media, you can't pretend that Fox News is free and clear of that. Also, stay tuned, because what someone is about to say is one of the most blatantly awesome, brilliant, hardcore things to be said about the news and some of the shit going on in the world that I'm surprised is happening in the mainstream media. Like, it's so not mainstream of them to say next. Here it comes. Just wait for it.
Worked for Bernie. Bernie did a good job. Bernie got...
No, I mean, I went back and forth on this because I understand from an individual campaign's perspective why you'd want to go do this and, you know, show that you're trying to reach these voters. But I think Elizabeth Warren has shown over the last couple of weeks that she can reach those voters without going on Fox News. She went to West Virginia, heart of Trump country, and she's talking about the opioid crisis. And after she holds this event, a few people who are Trump voters are like, you know what, I might vote for Warren.
Yeah.
And those people are very different than going on Fox News, where you can draw a direct line from what Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham say every single night, right to the manifestos being written by some of these right-wing extremists who are killing people. And I think, giving them ratings and helping them with their advertisers, that's...
Hate for profit, as you call it. Hate for profit.
Hate for profit is what it's called. Stephen Colbert says, kind of almost nonchalantly, hate for profit. Call me crazy, but isn't that what I've been talking about for the last 5 years? On my social media and 2 years on my podcast? Yeah, it is. That's what some of us have been talking about for decades, about this country, and about the spirally echo chamber of echo chambers of spiraling you through your own history of hate for profit over and over again, to see how many times they can get away with it without you realizing that it's hate for profit.
Visit VoteSaveAmerica.com and register to vote. Podsave America, everybody. We'll be right back with BTS. We don't like these guys.
So that was Podsave America, which I didn't know. I'd heard the name before, and I didn't know what to expect from them as content. But, I guess I'm not going to disagree with them really blatantly about some of the stuff they talk about. Because they sure as fuck just called out in the open some things that 10 years ago you would get ridiculed for calling out in the open. That I was, and many of us were. I'm not trying to be special or nothing. I'm just saying I'm not new to this rodeo. This ain't my first rodeo on this trip of calling out, the imperialist system of oppression that pretends to be saving us from itself all the time. At any rate, I was impressed. I was surprised. I was not expecting that to be what was on the leftist brainwashing echo chamber of left-wing socialist mockingbird program psyop media. Wasn't expecting that on Fox News either. But it's brutal, and a lot of it is funny because, sadly, tragically, and alarmingly, it is kind of true.
And that is the latest breaking news. We now return you to your regularly scheduled brainwashing. Thank you for listening,